world are looking upwards, seeing in the air above them an all-enveloping ocean, an ocean without frontiers or reefs to stem the tides of modern air power. Alert to this new direction of attack since the grim days when Coventry learned that air power had revolutionized the technique of war. And now the sensitive ears of detectives listen along every airwave in the ocean above Britain. In Hankow and Chongqing, unprotected before Japan's treacherous attack, the people of China learned in devastation and terror that air power is the key to modern strategy, learned that henceforth soldier and civilian face death together. In the streets of Moscow, when sirens herald the approach of enemy planes, and air-minded people are prepared, for the Russians, pioneers in the development of new weapons, know that all who live within 1,000 miles of the Reich are within 4 hours' reach of the fury of the Luftwaffe. But today, the strongholds of industrial Germany are receiving heavy proof that the air-ocean is no one-way path of conquest. And around the world, even in Japan, those who sought to dominate the East by air power are themselves listening uneasily, for they know that the space-destroying strategies of aerial warfare have created many roads that lead to Tokyo, roads through the air-ocean that threaten the most distant cities of the earth. Men of the air-ocean, the crews of the long-range bombers are the wielders of this revolutionary power. In the strange world of celestial navigation, they calculate their 1,000-mile flights to the accuracy of a city block. They balance bomb load against striking range to achieve the maximum of destructive power. Only 4 years ago, this weapon of all-out aerial war was untested and terrifying. As the people of England waited for the blow to fall, they tried to prepare themselves against unpredictable destruction. Some were skeptical. Some were bewildered. Many were sincere. None could gauge the devastation which the bombers would bring. As they watched the unwieldy balloons rolling out to deck the skies of London, they wondered what strange new warfare was upon them. In the big cities, experts predicted that indiscriminate bombing would render millions homeless. Wholesale evacuation of children began. In scores of thousands, they were torn from their families and sent to safety in the country. But in the orderly discipline of this mass action, the people of Britain found a measure of relief from the tragedy of parting in the hour of crisis. Left behind in the cities, parents waited for the blow whose coming no one could foretell. All over England, the lights had gone out. With systematic thoroughness, the people kept a blackout which never to this day has given aid to the enemy. When the Banshee wailing of the siren sounded, the men and women of England in their millions moved underground to what they thought was the beginning of a new life. Whole cities slowed to a standstill. A proud people braced themselves for the attack to prove before the world that they could take it. August 8, 1940. The air crews of Hitler's Luftwaffe, spearhead of his blitzkrieg on the west, was confident of an easy triumph in the coming battle for Britain. Massed at 100 airfields in the conquered countries, they pored over plans of their objectives, docks, harbors, and food supplies, whose paralysis, they thought, would speedily reduce Britain to an abject surrender. This was to be the famous toughening up process for invasion, the task assigned by the high command to Junker, Heinkel, Dorniers, and Stukas, which now roared in successive waves towards England. Little did the German generals know that the defensive armament of their planes was no match for the fighters of the RAF, that their bomb loads were pitifully inadequate to the gigantic task they had set themselves. Guided by the silvery thread of the Thames, shining clear in the moonlight, they center their attack on the wharves and docks of London's East End and on the crowded arteries of communication round which cluster the life of scores of thousands of workers. Down upon these tenements rained such a fury of destruction that many must have doubted whether any people could stand up to this merciless pounding and survive. And on the food warehouses of London's docklands, there fell night after night a hail of incendiary bombs. Disregarding their losses, which had already exceeded 2,000 planes, the Luftwaffe pressed on, vainly hoping to drive home a blow which could prove mortal. And now the heart of the city was on fire. It seemed that England was fighting for her very life. When the Blitz was over, Londoners dug themselves out of the rubble. 50,000 of the number were casualties, and of these nearly half had been killed, a far higher proportion of deaths than is usual on the field of battle. But London was not crushed as Hitler had boasted. Its people had learned in the crucible of fire the great lesson of air attack, that a planned defense can master every terror from the sky. That factories can actually increase their output under the menace of air raids. From that day, the British set about building their new system of defense, no longer highly centralized, but geared to the needs of each locality. From the intricate network of emplacements honeycombing the coasts of Britain, the Observer Corps still reports formations of enemy bombers approaching. Interceptor squadrons and anti-aircraft boats spring to the attack. At headquarters, the course of the raid is plotted and reported to plant control rooms, the nerve center of each factory's ARP defense system. Group spotters stand to the alert. But below, in the machine shops, the battle of production continues without pause. Only the warden now leaves his bench to open the doors that lead to the shelter. Hostile aircraft in sight. When the warden's whistle blows, factory workers don their helmets and keep on working. Only when the bombs are actually falling close by does the spotter give the signal, imminent danger. Throughout the city, the traffic of normal life continues, while overhead the guns of the RAF go into action. By night, across the length and breadth of Britain, more than 4.5 million members of the Fire Guard are now on the watch. For every 150 yards of city street, a team of guards watches by rotation, so that everyone else in the district can sleep undisturbed until actual attack is upon the neighborhood. Then the fire guards jump into action to stem the fires caused by showers of incendiary bombs. Men and women armed with pails and stirrup pumps, the fire guards dash to the scene of the nearest blaze, taking cover behind the protection of the brick wall, lest the bomb be of the new high-explosive type, which bursts into splinters and can kill anyone foolhardy enough to try and extinguish it unprotected, as many in Britain learned at cost of life and limb. Never again, for lack of community action, will London burn as it burned those fateful winter nights of December 1940. And now, moving from mass production lines, comes Britain's reply to Hitler's threat. Long-range bombers that carry the heaviest bomb loads in the world. To Hitler's hundreds of tons, the RAF returns thousands of tons. Massive 6,000-pound blockbusters, speeding nightly on their way to German and Italian cities. In place of the Luftwaffe's weak and ineffective raids, the RAF intensively concentrates its gigantic bombs on the nerve centers of Axis industry. All over Nazi Europe, this new strategy of concentrated annihilation is wiping out foundries, forges, U-boat yards, tank factories, aircraft plants, sources of strength which every day become more and more indispensable to Germany's dwindling war power. Just as destructive, though spread over a wider area, is the RAF's new technique of sweeping in by day across the coasts of Axis-held Europe. These 400-mile-an-hour mosquito bombers cover a quarter mile in 2 seconds. They weave in and out to escape enemy fighter pursuit. They attack factories, railroads, bridges with bomb and cannon at point-blank range. This is how they destroyed the huge Philips radio plant at Eindhoven, Holland, and played havoc with the Nazi anniversary in Berlin. Down from the reaches of the air ocean, no enemy planes as yet have rained destruction upon Canada. Under a friendly sky, her factories and shipyards extend their new productive strength. From Canada's industrial centers, a mounting tide of war power has so far streamed forth without interruption. Beneath the air ocean, Canada's wartime resources are spread out unmolested. But Canadians, realizing that their country is no longer remote from Europe or Asia, are carefully assessing the risks of air attacks. Their inland resources, they see, are no more free from danger of aerial bombardment than the coastal regions, no more free from danger than many cities of the world that have paid for unpreparedness with devastation. And so, across the continent from Halifax to Vancouver, Canadian cities rehearse their grim lessons of air defense, and the lights go out in Canada. Typical of civilian defense organizations all across the Dominion is that of British Columbia, first province to be shelled by the enemy. In Vancouver's ARP headquarters, a relief map reveals the high mountains and jagged coastlines which the city's defense system must take into account. Profiting by England's experience, Vancouver has decentralized her defenses. Throughout the city, air raid wardens, trained and equipped for the job, interview civilians and check for communication points, for fire hazards and vital spots requiring special watching. The network of the telephone system is ready for instant action. Hospitals are prepared for emergency evacuation. In close contact with British experience, experts study the complex problems of clearing bombed traffic routes. Throughout the city, men and women are learning lessons of defense well known to the people of London and Moscow, Malta and Chongqing. They are learning the strength of working together for common protection, finding that every member of the community, old or young, has a part to play and something to contribute to the security of all. From the university campus to the production plants, they have acted on the words of an ARP expert. The primary responsibility for protection against air raids is on the individual himself. Banshees over Canada. Across Lower Mainland, the largest single siren system in the world sets up its warning wail. British Columbia is rehearsing her preparedness. Vancouver post wardens are ready in their control room as the signal flashes to the nerve center of a community that does not forget the fate of Nanking and the unprotected cities of China. By phone and messenger, from street wardens to district control rooms, come reports of damage and casualties. Around the control table, key men of the essential services make quick decisions and command technical aid. Ambulances, special crews, reserves, extra equipment for every situation are dispatched from district control rooms, rushed to the scene of action. At first aid posts set up and maintained by householders in every district, nursing sisters deal with local casualties. Their aides, teams of high school students, receive instruction in the treatment of shock and wounds. In the streets, decontamination squads answer the gas warning and set to work upwind of the infected area. Elsewhere, firemen in asbestos suits grapple with broken gas mains. And so, in the shared responsibility of her citizens, Canada establishes her civilian defense. Rising from the waters of the coast, the wings of Canada are sure proof that attacking air power alone can meet the menace from the skies, that civilian ground defenses of themselves are not enough. Across the horizons of the north, Canada spreads the protecting wings of her new air strength. From the stations of both coastal commands, from secret runways strung along the farthest limits of habitable land, she sends up her challenge to air marauders, a ring of speed and firepower, a ring of mounting offensive might. Tonight, as every night, Canadians are listening, watching, waiting, sounding the darkness above for the first sign of danger. If the time comes, they say, be it tonight or tomorrow, this week or next year, we shall be standing guard to protect our homes and our factories and our fields. If the Banshees wail for Canada, if the menace of the air ocean looms above our shores, we shall be prepared.